Okay, so the cap corners and the rockers are finally completed. It's finally done, and it probably took 3 or 4 months, maybe even a bit longer, because I was only able to work on the truck really on weekends, and not every weekend was free to work on the truck, so it took quite some time. On top of that, I've never cut panels out and fabricated panels and, have done stuff to that degree by any means. So it was definitely a big learning curve, but I think towards the end it did go a lot faster as I got into a rhythm, was less scared of cutting things out and making mistakes, and found that there actually is a bit of flexibility when it comes to cutting out and installing new panels, but obviously not having a bunch of experience made things take a bit longer. I basically boiled down hours of video into just a really concise reel, which I'm going to roll for you in a minute here. When I can do a project in 1 or 2 sittings, I think the videos will be of much higher quality versus taking 6 months or a few months worth of videos and trying to condense that into something digestible. But anyways, I'm super happy that it's finally done and we can move the project forward. I really hope to have this project done and this truck really primed and ready for paint in the next few months. Overall, I think things turned out really well, especially for my first go, but I guess only time will tell, and all put back together and all the bodywork's done, it's sprayed and painted, will we truly know if the work I did was any good. Regardless, it's just a project, it's just for fun, something to do, something I enjoy. So let's roll. So you can see the truck is totally rotted. It's totally rusted there. The rear of the cap corners, you can see, I mean, it's not pretty. And so, yeah, both inside, underneath, I mean, the cap corners are really gone, and this side is a lot worse than the other side. But basically, I'm just going to start grinding this out, trying to clean it up the best I can. And my whole goal here is to cut out the middle, because if I cut out the middle before I do each of the other sides, I know this will be perfectly straight. So I basically had a patch panel that I used and modified, took pieces of it to basically create this inner sill. And again, it would be nice. I only had really a dolly, a vise, a hammer, to kind of make all this stuff, but it ended up working out pretty good. And anytime I had metal on metal, I used a weld-through primer. And then once I grinded down the welds, I go back with a fiberglass filler just to seal everything up. And then once that's done, I kind of just worked it in sections. But here we're going to tackle the cap corner. So I'm cutting out the new cap corner to fit and basically score and get a fitment for where to cut on the old cap corner. And there are a lot of spot welds you got to take out, and they're a big pain in the ass. But once you get those out, you can really see where we're at. And so, yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad. And so I ended up just cutting out even that sill there that goes all the way across because it was just really rusted. So it's time to make my own. And that's the old one I cut out. And I'm just going to start modifying this piece of metal and fabricating to get something pretty close. Now, my biggest fear with doing this is if the fitment isn't good on this piece, and everything that it ties into could be off. And so that was kind of my biggest fear, moving along through the project. But I think I got it pretty nailed down. So I actually removed a few more pieces, and that whole corner is basically, I had to redo. And so with the door closed, the fitment I think worked out really well. And now it's time to tackle the interior cap corners. Yeah, you can just see it's totally rusted, totally gone. And so what makes it difficult is you don't know how far down these things should be tying in. And that's the biggest challenge when it's that far gone. So there's a lot of testing and fitting and testing and fitting and testing and fitting just to make sure that we're not cutting anything too short, because that's the worst. It can be too long. You can always cut a little bit off, but if it's too short, then you're pretty much screwed. So take your time. And it's always just getting a rough shape at first and then just slowly chopping it down. But now I got the first piece kind of ready to install, so we're going to weld that up. And now it's time to work on the top of that cap corner, interior cap corner. And again, it's just a lot of tapping and hammering and cutting and splicing, and that's getting pretty close. It's really just getting the initial shape. That the rest, it's fairly easy to finesse, and so that's it installed. So I got the bottom and the top. We're just welding all that up, and then I've got the outer cap corner tacked up, finished it, grinded it down, fiberglassed it, and then I did some of the body work there. It's hard to leave it. I want to see, how smooth is it. And this was the scary part. So I ended up cutting all of this out, and you can see that it was quite rusted. So I keep cutting, I want to get all that rust. This is making a little patch panel there. That's it installed. And yeah, sometimes you got to make things out of a couple of pieces. So in this case, I'm making that interior piece there. And I'm making it in a couple pieces, and I'm kind of fitting it, tacking it, massaging it to get it to really fit nicely. So now I'm gonna weld all this up. And now I'm gonna, get a rough cut on this. And again, anything I do, so the bottom of that panel that I'm installing has weld through primer on the inside, because I want to make sure all the metal is covered to the absolute best of my ability. And then once I get all this done here, I'm going to come back with POR 15, just a trim clad, and just make sure everything's done. So you can see that there's some little pinholes that I will fill with fiberglass once I got the rest of this kind of installed here. Now I got the last little piece, and again, this was just so rotted out, there was no template to really use, so I ended up making this really out of 3 pieces, and it worked really well. So, I think once you get into it, if you're a little nervous, starting to cut things up and move things around, just, take your time, make things out of a couple pieces. It will make things a lot easier than trying to fabricate, one piece. So here's the little third piece I put in, and, when it's all installed and in, it ended up working really well, and I was quite happy with the result. And so, yeah, I basically got all the fiberglass done, and it's pretty much ready to go. So there's obviously a lot of sanding. I'll have to do a lot more body work in this area. But yeah, kind of that first attempt, from before to after, boom. Yeah, I can't be too upset with the result there. So now that that's all done, I'm really ready to start moving on to the next piece, which is I'm going to be trim cladding the interior and soundproofing the floor, the cab, the back of the cab, and then the roof of the cab. And then while I'm doing that, I might also start working on the box. So right now I actually got new box rails made, and that should be, I'm ready to go. And really all I can do, because the hips are fiberglass on the Flairside and you cannot find boxes, the box definitely has some rough elements to it. There's lots of surface rust on it. So the best thing I can do is just clean it up the best I can. So once I'm done cleaning it up, I'll try to time it where once I'm done cleaning up the box, I'm also ready to trim clad the interior of the cab. And so I'll trim clad both sides of the box just to really seal it. And then on the inside of the box, or the side that you're actually putting stuff in, I'll box line. I'm not sure when I'll do that. If I'll do that in kind of the same go, or if I'll do that, once maybe I'm done priming, or, I'm not exactly sure when I'll end up doing that. But I would just want to make sure that it's as sealed as possible and as rust proof as possible. And really the best thing I can do is just trim clad it. I mean, I'm not anticipating to drive this truck much in the rain. I think with everything sealed, it should last a very, very long time without having to worry too much about rust coming through. Because again, it is fairly light. Some areas are a little bit heavier, but I think with a couple of really good coats of trim clad and just cleaning up the best I can, that's about all I can do without going to extreme lengths to get it done. And I don't want this to be another 3 years getting this project done. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys have questions, let me know. I'll leave some links to all the parts I use in the videos and what I've used on this truck in the description of this video. And if you haven't already, definitely subscribe, hit the like button. It really helps me out a lot with the YouTube algorithms and helps me kind of grow this little side hustle. So hope you guys enjoy. Again, it's a pleasure, and we'll see you in the next video.